Hi everybody, welcome to chapter 15 of the Global Shift. I'm JS and today we're going to be discussing fasting for your future. Now, I'm not going to be telling you to give up eating food for any extended periods of time. In fact, I want you to continue to eat. But before we start talking about fasting for your future and what it means to me, I want to discuss my past a little bit. My childhood, my earlier years, my 20s, my 30s, the foods I was eating, how I felt, and what that was doing to me, and then at the point of change. And then from there we can discuss this. So you'll have to just take this little journey with me because it's very important. When I give this advice, it's not just blind advice and stuff that's just spewing out of my mouth. As I've mentioned, this comes from the questions I've asked, the answers I've been seeking, and my life experiences and the things that I witness and experience and channel and receive, okay? But when I was a child, I grew up in a very poor home. We had food, we had a roof over our head, my father worked. It wasn't like that until we became a broken home and stuff when I was about 5 years old, but another story. As a child growing up, my family ate very low quality meat if we ate it. A lot of pasta and a lot of processed meats, packaged meats, sandwich meats, things like that. But when we can afford those things, really it was just a lot of pasta, chicken and hamburgers, things like that. And this was abundance. And I also, grew up in a family that I wasn't a breastfed child. I was put on formula right at birth. I went from the bottle to chocolate milk. So I started having massive sugar intake right at an early age. So right from there, my sugar addiction was set for a long period of life. I would wake up on a Saturday morning, no lie, as a little kid watching Saturday morning cartoons. You know what they are if you're my age. I would sit in front of the TV with like a big bottle of Coca-Cola, a 2-pint box of Breyer's ice cream, and this is what I would be eating for breakfast. I had no real guidance with meals like this. My mother would cook dinner, there would be lunch sometimes. If I went to an aunt's house for Thanksgiving or my grandparents, there was a great meal because they had an entirely different lifestyle than I had. So it was always a treat going there. But in my own home, my diet was terrible. My diet was terrible. Fast foods, pizza, cheese. I really rarely drank water as a child growing up. I never drank milk unless there was chocolate syrup in it. My diet really consisted of cookies and ice cream, cake, soda, pasta, chicken here and there, steak here and there, hamburgers here and there, and it went on like this for a very long time. And I ate Taco Bell, and I ate McDonald's, and I would eat Dunkin' Donuts, and I ate Subway, and I would eat Wendy's, and I would eat anywhere, and I would eat anywhere. So as a childhood, as an early child, I knew I had a special calling. I knew there was things going on around me. So even as I was eating these bad foods and I was corrupting my mind and I was, calcifying my pineal gland and I was burying my connection with my higher self even deeper, I always had that feeling that something wasn't right. But I was always raised to second guess myself, not listen to the voice inside, don't trust myself. I just raised in a very misguided way. So when I went into my teen years, I was eating the fast food and all those things. When I went into my 20s, I was still doing that. I was living on my own, but I was still eating the same way. I was buying the easy junk foods. I was going to the supermarket and I was buying the foods that were very easy to make, very quick to make. I wasn't taking time to really cook and do anything good for myself like that. I had no knowledge of good food, bad food. I didn't care. I didn't care. If you gave me something fat-free, I hated the way it tasted. I would stay away from it. I ate everything that had sugar in it, salt in it, sodium high levels. I had never read a label in my life. It was all boxed meals for me. And, this is how it went on. I got into the food industry in my later 20s. When I moved out of New York, a life change. I met a girl, I moved out of New York. And when I moved up to here, New England, Connecticut, I got into the food industry. I worked in an Italian place cooking, learning to cook and making pizza and stuff. Now when I was in New York as a child, teenager, I did work in delis and stuff. So again, I was eating sandwich meats and all that stuff, processed foods. Keep that in mind, processed foods, right? Came to Connecticut, I started to learn to really cook better foods for myself. I always knew how to cook as a child. I had to cook steaks or hamburgers on my own when I was home. Almost burnt the house down many times as a child because I was alone often. So I knew how to cook. I don't mean like that, but I really learned how to cook in my late 20s. And again, though, this was Italian food. This was cheeses and sauces and breads. And again, this is just stuff that goes inside your body and it breaks down and it gets stored and it creates fats. But it's not only the physical things that it's doing to you. It's not only the residual stuff that's going to all catch up with you when your body starts to slow down at a later age. It is mentally, spiritually, celestially, and physically altering your physical being and your connection to your higher self. When I got into my 30s, man, I hit what I called like a midlife crisis. When I was 30 years old, my grandfather, my father's father, passed away at 65, and I always thought to myself, well, that's probably going to be my number unless I change my ways. So when I was in my 30s, I was like, well, this is about the middle of my life. So I started to get a little panicky, right? Didn't change anything because what started to happen at that point is I started to even make more money. I got an inheritance and I used it right and I invested it here and I did this and I opened up a business and I started to do all these things and I had more money. So what happened now? Now I had more money and I was able to eat more expensive food. More expensive food. Not necessarily better food. Now, granted, it was better than the food I was eating. It was a better quality than the food I was eating. But was it better for me? No. Because what happened, my friends, is as I got to my late 30s, my entire body started to shut down. When I was a teenager, when I was 18 years old, I'm 6'2", I was always a tall, thin guy. When I was 18 years old, I was 165 pounds at 18 years old. Now, I was definitely underdeveloped with muscle because of a lack of protein growing up. So I was always skinny. I didn't have big muscles or anything like that, even though I boxed and I studied martial arts and I could whoop butt. I still didn't have big, massive muscles, right? Even growing up in my 20s and my 30s, I never really accepted that overabundance of protein. It was something I didn't want to do. But all the shitty food I ate all my life, from when I was a childhood, the sodiums, the sugars, all of it, the sodas, the things that I was still eating, even in my 30s when I was making great money and I was eating filet mignon and all these things, I was still having soda with it. Don't kid yourself. And I was still eating ice cream. Maybe dinner was better. I should just say that. Dinner was better because everything else was the same. And I would still eat fast food even though I started to drift away from that. But when I got to around 30, 38, so let me jump back up for a second. 165 pounds at 18 years old. In my late 20s, about 28, when my first son was born, 29, I was about 180 pounds. So not too bad. It was a good weight. It was a good weight for my height, but it was gut weight. It wasn't healthy weight, okay? So as life went on, this progressed. 38 years old, 39 years old, 40 years old, I got up to 190 pounds, 200 pounds. This August 2017, this August 27th, 2017, next month, I will be married to my wife now for 8 years. No, it's 7 years. I'm sorry. She's going to kill me if she sees this. For 7 years. 7 years. So at 42 years old, standing right outside of this shed, we got married here at my home, this big tree here, right underneath this tree, bunch of people here. Hurricane Irene it was. Irrelevant. Anyway, on my wedding day, 7 or 8 years ago, I was 235 pounds. All unhealthy weight. Here, my legs, I couldn't breathe. I was going to the doctor. I was doing everything they said. I was taking the prescriptions they wanted. I was eating the foods they suggested. I was avoiding what they said to avoid. I was starting to eat what they said to eat, and guess what happened? I got sicker. I got worse. My triglyceride levels were in the dangerous zone, borderline diabetes. My body was shutting down. My body was literally shutting down. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. I was in my house one night and I sat there and it all hit me. It all hit me. I realized that the only way to save myself was to save myself. Something was wrong. The advice I was getting wasn't helping me. The medicine I was on was making me feel worse. The foods I was now eating weren't helping, weren't making changes. They were contributing to it. I had to do something. So now, I also smoked a pack and a half of cigarettes a day. Massive factor in this whole thing. If you're smoking cigarettes, I mean, I can sit here and talk to you for about that for hours. If you're smoking cigarettes, crumble that shit up and get it out of your house. And at the end of this episode, we will talk about the intent and the will that's going to help you make these changes. But I was also smoking cigarettes, and I said, I gotta stop. I'm going to die. I want to see my son. I want to see my son become a man and have children, and I want to see my grandchildren. And I didn't even have my son Sagan at this time. So this is what I did. No bullshit. I'm looking at my little guide notes down here of things to talk about, and I'm going to bypass some because I don't want this to be a crazy long episode, and I really want to try to find a way to connect with you on this. I'm not talking shit here. I ate unhealthy for 3/4 of my life that I've lived now. I ate unhealthy for 3/4 of the life that I've lived now, and for 1/4 of that life, I made changes. Now, I'm not telling you to be a vegetarian or a vegan, but this is what I'm going to ask you to do. To pull within yourself, to find within yourself all the things that you know you're doing wrong, all the things you're aware that you're doing wrong, and start making a list of them. Because what I did is I made that list: cigarette smoking, the foods I'm eating, and that's it. One morning I woke up and I said, I don't care if I am an insane lunatic. I looked at my wife and I said, you might want to stay in a hotel for a week because I don't know how I'm going to feel during this, but I'm going to stop everything, all of it, now. No more smoking cigarettes, no more eating junk foods, no more eating this, no more none of this. I'm going vegetarian, blah, blah, blah. So I went through this whole process with her, this whole conversation. And in the end, what I ended up doing, I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped drinking soda, New York accent. I quit smoking cigarettes. I stopped drinking soda, and I stopped buying all junk foods. So those 3 things right off the bat begin the fast for your future. Cigarette smoking out, if you're doing it. Soda, done. Today. Doesn't matter if it's diet, caffeine free, don't hand me a bullshit excuse about anything. I like it, I don't care. Go get water and buy Mio, find some flavor additive. I'm not a big fan of plain water. I do use Mio. And I know Mio is not the healthiest thing for you. I use one Mio because out of all the Mios, it's got no sodium in it, all the less stuff. I'm trying. I've tried the crushed fruit in it. I can't do it, all right? So this is something, a weakness within myself. But anyway, cigarette smoking, soda, and all junk foods. All junk foods. I don't care if it's Entman's, Breyer. I don't care. I don't care if it's organically made. I don't care. All junk foods. No sugar. Sodium. You do not put any added salt on anything you eat right now. Really listen to this. You're going to have to go back and watch this. Cigarette smoking, soda, no junk food, no sugars, no sugar foods, no salt. What do you eat? So this is what I did. My fast, my rebooting my system. I took everything that was shitty out of my site in my house, went through my cabinets, and I got it all out of here. If it was unopened, I donated it. From cereals, everything that was bad. I went out to the store and all I bought was lettuce, tomato, cucumber, broccoli, carrots, things like that to make healthy salads. Listen to me, healthy salads. So every single day I ate 2 big, huge, nice, healthy salads. And this is what I did for the main part. I took kale, I took celery, I took cucumber, I took ginger, I took lime, I took green pears and green apples, and the recipe will be below, and I juiced them. I bought an omega juicer. Now, I'm going to discuss, the NutriBullet aspect versus the juicing aspect. But this is why I did this. I didn't want to starve myself, and I didn't want to not take in food, so that's why I ate the salads. Lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, anything you want on that. Lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, broccoli, go bananas. Buy some raisins, buy some nuts, put it on there, sesame seeds. Do that stuff. Go buy yourself, if you want to do a dressing, I use dressing, I'm not going to lie. I went out and I bought a vegan dressing, a really good dressing, and I did use that. So I was just eating the salads, were my main meals, and I was juicing. I was having the juice, a glass of juice, this juice about twice a day. And what this was doing is I was getting rid of the weight by eliminating all of this food I would have eaten to get the amount of micro and macronutrients that I wanted to get to reboot my cellular aspects of my body, to start rehydrating and refueling and rebooting my brain and my body. I wanted an abundance of micro and macronutrients. And if you looked at this plate of produce to make this thing of juice that you would go through a day, there'd be no way I would be able to eat all this in a day. It's an abundance of kale, celery. Now these are not expensive. They're not expensive. Kale, celery, cucumbers, ginger, lime, green apples, green pears. It's not expensive stuff. Lettuce, tomato, cucumber. It's not expensive stuff. It's not expensive stuff. So you're actually going to be saving yourself a little money. You're going to be rebooting your system by getting an abundance of micro and macronutrients. You're still going to be eating really good, beautiful, nutritious foods. There's thousands of great salad recipes online. You just have to leave off all the fried stuff and stuff. It's just all natural. Every ingredient on there has to be something that you can go out somewhere on the planet and find on a plant or a vine or in the ground, okay? That's the deal. Dressing, that's where you get to, have a little bit of fun. It's okay. Put the dressing you want in there. The juicing aspect is really important. And what I did this for 14 days. Ate salads and just had the green juice every day. That's all I drank, salads and green juice. I did this for 14 days. And on the 14th day, the 15th day, what I started to do was take strawberry and banana, and now I was taking the green juice and I was throwing some strawberry and banana in my NutriBullet machine, and I was making smoothies. I would still have like a glass of the green juice a day. Lunchtime, I would have a salad. In the afternoon, I would have a smoothie. Dinner time, I would have a salad. And at night, I would have a glass of green juice. Very simple. 30 days. 30 days later, I lost 50 pounds in 30 days. I lost 50 pounds in 30 days. Right now, I am 49 years old. I am still 6'2", well, maybe 6'1.5". We shrink a little. Plus, I've got little spine issues. I weigh today 170 pounds, and my weight has not fluctuated within 5 pounds either way in years since I started this. Now, after the 30 days, what do? What do you start eating? That's the tricky part. Because for me, that's when I decided to go vegetarian and vegan. But this is the advice I'm going to give you. This is the advice I'm going to give you. If you're willing to make this commitment and try this, you're not only going to lose the weight, reboot your body, let the cells that are now being regenerated in your body be regenerated off the proper nutrients and proper micro and macronutrients, but what also happens is you become alive. Your brain starts to process and function on such a higher level that you are automatically repairing the damage that's done internally and helping your higher self communicate with you. And right now I am getting a beautiful, beautiful resonating frequency in my left side, and I am on with it right now. I'm telling you, you get rid of the fucking cigarettes, the soda, the sugar, the junk food. You do this, you eat nice, healthy salads. Heck, even throw fruits in it. Add fruits into your salad. Have fruits and vegetables during the day. Eat as much fruits and vegetables as you want. But do the juice, man. Do the juice. Do the green juice, because it's going to overload you. Now, if you have a NutriBullet and you're using the NutriBullet, yes, you're getting an abundance of micro and macronutrients and all this stuff, but you're getting also a lot of the roughage and the foods. So, you know, if you're a thin person, then that's okay. You do that. That's fine. But I would really suggest going this way. And if you're on medications and things like prednisone, as you have allergies and things like that, you're going to start to notice that your immune system is kicking into gear. So after I did that fast, what I started to do is, that's it, man. I just said, that's it. I'm going to eat what the planet has provided. And that's the difference for me between animals and provided. We have everything we need to survive. So right now, what do I eat? You know, I eat salads, and I eat potatoes, and I eat carrots, and I eat celery, and I eat all fruits and vegetables. I eat like a dinner for me. This is really a big point I wanted to make for you. A dinner for me will be some types of carbohydrates, brown rice, I'll have quinoa or something like that. I'll make potatoes. I eat baked potatoes, sweet potatoes. I eat all types of potatoes. I eat all potatoes. I eat breads, gluten-free, vegan bread I eat only, and I bake my own. But a typical dinner for me, a typical dinner at night for me would be maybe some broccoli and carrots steamed. I might saute up some onions with some potatoes, or have a baked potato, or make some vegan mashed potatoes with the broccoli and the carrots. I'll have a salad, of course, with my dinner. And for protein with dinner, I'll have like a veggie burger. I make my own veggie burgers. I got killer recipes. But listen to me. Another thing I want you to do, even if you don't want to try the green juice, even if you don't want to fast, listen. You know you need to get the junk food out of your life. You know you need to get the soda out of your life. You know you need to stop smoking cigarettes. I keep telling you that there are alternatives. We don't have to keep killing animals to get the proteins you want. So try this then. If you don't want to go the whole salad and juicing route, the next time you go to the supermarket, instead of buying a hamburger, ground beef, and steak and chicken, go to the organic section. Just look at the organic freezer section. You are going to see a variety depending on what store you're in. And there is a crazy variety of veggie burgers. Black bean burgers, California burgers, you'll see turkey burgers, not real turkey, kale burgers, all these things. Don't let these vegetable names or the names of these deter you. Think of this. When you have a hamburger at home, you have a burger, you put lettuce and tomato on it, maybe a different cheese, maybe you season it different, but it's always the same thing. It's always a burger. You have so many options of healthy foods that taste amazing. All these veggie burgers you see in the frozen section and the organic section are fantastic burgers. Go home, cook one up in a pan. Just buy one box one day. Cook it up in a pan. If you like chicken, if you want to have chicken, breaded chicken or regular chicken cutlets, there are companies that make vegetarian. They have a little bit of milk protein in it and a little bit of egg white in it. So some of them aren't vegan, but they make these products that are chicken cutlets, breaded cutlets. You would not know the difference. I promise you. Now, you're getting protein. You're getting more protein than you would get from eating the beef or the chicken. More protein, more true balanced proteins, right? You're also saving a life. You're not contributing and condoning and supporting that industry anymore. You're also getting better nutrients and stuff in you because it's plant-based materials that you're eating. Now, I don't eat the wheat-based stuff. You'll also see if you don't have a problem with gluten, you are in luck. If you don't have a problem with gluten and you can eat wheat and it doesn't make you feel bloated or anything like that, then there is everything from teriyaki chicken strips, everything to hot dogs, and they're fantastic. I'm not kidding you. Go try some of these. Go try some of these things. You really need to eliminate all this processed foods, all these junk foods because they're made to kill you. They're made so you don't think for yourself. They're made so your body doesn't function on a higher level, so your brain's not functioning on a higher level. We're cattle. We are an enslaved species that gets out there and works so we can pay taxes, so somebody at the top of the heap can live for free. And we generally are fed and we feed ourselves and eat and feed our children the worst foods there are. Never, 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 never should you eat fast foods, things like McDonald's and stuff like that. Beef hot dogs and things like that are the most disgusting things. And get this, the World Health Organization, forget the American Cancer Society that's in the pocket of the pharmaceutical companies, absolutely guaranteed, number one, don't even trust them, don't trust them. The World Health Organization, processed meats, chicken, steak, pepperoni, cold cuts, turkey, all of it, bacon, processed meats are categorized as a class 1 carcinogen, a cancer-causing carcinogen, class 1. The only other class 1 carcinogens are cigarette smoking, asbestos, and plutonium. And processed meat is on that list. You have to stop eating processed meats. That saves so much of our future from greenhouse gases to species, living, breathing species. You don't eat what walks and talks, right? Now, I want to recap this a little bit because this is such a very intense subject for me. But if you truly, truly are a person who's depressed, your happiness is like a seesaw, you are distracted and you procrastinate, you second guess yourself, you're undecided, you can't stick to anything, you can't commit to anything and be dedicated, you constantly go from one thing to the next. This is not a problem with the surroundings because you're contributing to those and engaging those. This is a problem within you. This isn't a problem with your soul or your spirit. This is a problem with your vessel not running right, not functioning right. The sensors and senses are not communicating properly. Your body is failing in certain areas and it's turning out into physical skin, bad looking skin, overweight, lethargic, bad knees, and internally it's even a mess. And in your mind, it's just like I said, unhappiness and emotional stress and worry and freaking out and depression and sadness and imbalance and all these things. It's your diet. It's the foods you are eating. That saying, you are what you eat, is the truest statement anyone in your family has ever told you. You literally are what you're eating. So if you're eating junk food and you're eating snacks and garbage food, I'm not making these words up, junk food and shit food and snack foods. Your body is running off of that. And that's what it's going to start turning into. And it happened to me. I went from being this lean, mean, tall fighting machine to this overweight, lethargic, depressed person who just didn't know what to do. And somehow I finally said, you know what? I'm going to finally listen to myself. I'm going to finally stand up for the first time in my life and listen to myself and do what I believe I should do. Because my entire life, I have always guided people and have always given them the best advice. And they've gone on to do great things. And I've always helped and provided them. And I've always been the one to sit back myself because of my childhood, of my upbringing, my destructed confidence, my lack of self-esteem and no self-confidence. That's just how I was raised. I was beaten down and broken, and I was like that for a long time. And I thought that's just how life was. And I thought the foods that I was eating were good foods. And I thought the good foods that I was eating were really good foods. And then I went vegetarian. Vegetarian first. I still had eaten eggs and ice cream and things like that. And I started to feel really better when I stopped eating meats. No meat, no chicken, no fish. No meat, no chicken, no fish. Nothing that is alive. And then I turned around and I started to realize that dairy for me, dairy, milk and cheese and ice cream was that thick gelatinous feeling I had in my body. I always felt like I had this thick coating. Even after I would have salt, my body would retain this water. But dairy, something was happening when I would have milk products, cheese and ice cream and stuff. I would just feel like a few days later, this thick coating, I would feel depressed and just lethargic. And when I stopped eating dairy, oh my goodness, I felt light. I felt vibrant. I started to feel great. And I said, that's it, man. The last thing to go is eggs. Eggs. And then I started thinking about what an egg is and the concept of eggs. And, you know, it's probably the one thing that I can tolerate people eat if they have their own chickens on their own property and they eat eggs. But for me, you know, that just the whole concept of an egg, I was like, no, that's it, man. I'm going vegan. And then my whole life opened up for me, man. And that's why I'm here with you doing this today. I went minimalist, started realizing the benefits of that, but we're focusing on fasting for your future right now. Now, a little funny thing I want to say before we end, while you're thinking about these things, and before I give you our meditative willing intent exercises, you know, we are deceived and tricked greatly. Think of this, an apple today in 2017. Why does an apple cost more today in 2017 than it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago? As a matter of fact, first off, we shouldn't be paying for any fruits or vegetables or fresh water, not at all. That should all be provided for us free because the earth provides it for free. But anyway, back to what I was just saying. Think of this for a minute. This is just a little thing for you to ponder on as you're out there until we meet up with each other next week. And I'm going to use an apple as a metaphor because you can use this in all things. All things. The cost we pay for today, inflation, this invisible, fictitious aspect, this imaginary word that only feeds into somebody else's greed because they want more. They want more. An apple should not cost more today than it did 50 years ago. As a matter of fact, an apple should cost much, much less today than it did 50 years ago. Whether you're eating meat, chicken, ice cream, apples, candy, anything, all of it should cost less than it did 50 years ago because there are more willing and able bodies ready to work today. We have better technology that can produce all these things at a higher rate. We agriculturally can grow faster and better foods now if we would stop fucking with them genetically and use that science to benefit it. We should not be paying more for anything today. Everything that our great-great-grandparents did, the reason they busted their asses in the Industrial Revolution and the whole concept of our great-grandparents and our grandparents and our parents thinking they were going to create a better world for us was that world. They were creating the technology and the means to provide us the things we would need without having to be slaves to society for them. But here we are today, we are still yet slaves to society. We have solar power, wind power, all sorts of technology, robotics, and all automation. We could be delivering goods and growing goods and creating water, condensation all over the United States and feeding the entire planet. There should not be one starving child in this country alone. Everybody should be getting rid of their grass in their front yard and growing whatever they can and planting trees and fruits and vegetables everywhere in public places. You should not be paying more for an apple today because it costs a hell of a lot less to produce and deliver that apple today than it did a long time ago. And as a matter of fact, we have the means, as I said, to grow more apples and more foods to provide for more people. We have plenty of land to grow all this food and do all these things, but no. We have politicians and world leaders and religious leaders that want to embrace indifference and violence and hate and land control and enslavement of species and monopolize the planet and create war and tell you that they're defending our freedom as if somebody's invading our shores, and none of that is actually happening. So pull the blanket off your eyes, get the shit out of your ears, and understand that every message I deliver to you is of the new light. And what is the new light? It's not something different. It's not a new light. This planet, our existence, our universe, your consciousness was not created for anything that we engage in and experience today. The new light is getting back to the original consciousness intent. God's intent. Why God created everything in the beginning was for love, light, kindness, and compassion, and to not be alone, and to witness and experience all life everywhere freely as a celestial being, and we've done nothing. We've done nothing but accept and embrace enslavement and darkness. We have starving children right in your own neighborhood. There are homeless families right in your neighborhood. So nothing should be a priority anywhere in this world until every single person is fed and every single person has a house, until every single person can go outside and pick that apple off a tree and eat it for free. So everyone, I really truly hope that you will consider the words you heard here today. And until next week, our next message, with light, love, kindness, and compassion, I'm asking you to reach out to all those around you, and especially that within yourself. And I'm asking you to reach up to God and your higher self and the universe and whatever deity you believe in, whatever word you need to use, and call and will the intent for your meditation this week, which is you will have the strength, the guidance, the wisdom, and patience to make the changes within that you need. It's a simple one this week. When you're meditating and you're sitting down, I'm asking my higher self, the source of all life and all creation, to please give me the will and strength to let go of these addictions, of these foods that I eat. Let me find comfort without them. Let me start embracing the foods that I should properly eat, and so on. And this is what you do. Whatever you need to give up, cigarettes, pornography, whatever is holding you back, whatever it is that you're doing on a daily basis that inside is resonating wrong with you, that is colliding with your vibration, you need to get rid of that. So you must, as you're doing your celestial exercises and looking in the stream and talking to the angels and doing your travel, all of the guidance that we've been doing for 15 exercises, 15 episodes, this is the specific one now. Because once you do this food change, once you make this change to what you are taking to your celestial vehicle, your earthly vehicle for your celestial body, once you change what you are putting into this, all of this becomes so much more magnificent and strong. So please, 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 as soon as this is over, go right back to the beginning and watch it again. And if you have any questions, just ask. And if you're interested in the juice recipe, it's right below. And everybody, as I said, with light and love and kindness and compassion, I will see you next week. Take care, my friends. Bye.